After successfully chasing the hill job, we moved over to the BNSF Seattle Subdivision. Our first stop was Sumner to catch the southbound Coast Starlight Amtrak train number 11 from Seattle, Washington to Los Angeles, California. We then drove a little ways down the road to take a look at some of the meeker southern power that was sitting in their spur.
Where's the unpassable at?
We relocated a little bit north of Sumner Station to catch the northbound Sound Transit Mariner shuttle train. Sounder trains don't typically run on Sundays, but for sporting events like the Mariners, they'll run shuttle trains to and from Seattle. We moved up to Auburn, where the action would continue. We had a northbound BNSF coal train getting ready to leave the yard.
Thank you very much. You have a great day.
Thanks, you too. Fast travel.
It would stop at the signal just before exiting the yard and entering the main in order to let a northbound Cascades pass by. After Amtrak cleared, the northbound CSCM RBC would get permission to head north. This train originated at Signal Peak Mine in Montana and is bound for Delta, British Columbia. Typically, the coal trains will tie down in Auburn Yard and wait for new crews to take them the rest of the journey. We relocated back to Sumner, just north of where we caught that northbound sounder. We would catch two trains here, first being the northbound H Passive, as it was flying north to Everett. Running from Pasco, Washington to Everett, Washington, this train works a few yards on its journey. I believe they worked Tacoma today, but I'm not sure what other yards they worked. Next up was Job 156, running from Tacoma to Auburn. This is a turn job, so it'll return to Tacoma after working Auburn. Today's northbound run is a light pair of GP39s. We moved back to the curve in Sumner, but this time we positioned on the bridge. This is where we would catch Crew 4 heading northbound to Inner Bay Yard in Seattle. The local jobs typically have nice power, and today's Crew 4 was no exception. Listen to those EMDs roar as they make their way north. After this, we heard that the Renton rocket was running further north, so we tried to catch that. However, we later got a tip that did not have 737 fuselages on it, so we decided to bail. After getting some food in Auburn, we saw that a grain train was leaving the yard for Stampede Pass, so we opted to catch that. However, just before continuing east, they would do a crew change just a little ways outside of Auburn. The train began to make its way east, so we turned around and went back onto the highway to head over to Palmer Junction. We arrived with around 10 minutes to spare before we'd start to hear the train echoing through the mountains. I've never been this way before, so it was nice to get out of the Tacoma area. We soon figured out that this symbol was XKALBNY. To end off the day, we went to 52nd Street in Puyallup to catch some trains passing by Mount Rainier. First up was the southbound Sound Transit Mariners shuttle train making the return from Seattle. It had a meet with a northbound PSIP grain train. This train is coming out of Blakesley Junction from the Puget Sound and Pacific Railroad. The PSIP grain trains run as needed, and this one is specifically bound for Hastings, Nebraska. As the DPU passed by, that would conclude my 2022 PNW trip. And while this trip was over, it wasn't my only big trip planned for the summer. Stay tuned, because next series is going to be even bigger, as we travel to the Canadian National Iron Range in northern Minnesota.